Welcome to the Wealth and Women podcast. In this episode, we're going to bust the myths around financial planning. So, myth busting. There are lots of different myths, I think, that we've all probably heard about the industry, financial planning, about, the profession itself, about coaching. What are some of the myths that you've heard, and what are we going to say about busting them?
So I'd start with financial planners all have to be maths geeks, which is absolutely not true. I mean, we have calculators, we have computers. The real skills you need to be a financial planner are about dealing with people, human skills, creative thinking, and articulating things in a sensible way.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I actually agree. I found that I'm curious, easily bored, and a problem solver. I love problem solving. And I think that's where I thrive. And I think that's what you mostly need to kind of be able to unpack the situation with your client, to kind of go understand their needs and their wants and their aspirations and priorities and circumstances. And it's not necessarily down to knowing your numbers. It's just understanding what you're navigating through, their ideas, the vision, and then come up with, just like you said, there's so many tools and strategies out there. It takes that pressure off you. Obviously, having a good grasp of numbers really helps, but I wouldn't say it's essential to come into this profession.
No, it's not like you need to know Pythagoras theorem or anything like that, is that, it's just
thank God.
Exactly. No, it's just, like I say, as long as you've got a basic concept of maths, you're fine. You're fine. I think, Emma, if maths is not your strong point, we know that, don't you?
Don't say that, my clients might hear it. But no, you're right. I just about got a C at GCSE maths. It never was. I was better at English, words, writing. That was always my strength. And I think my mum was so shocked when I decided to go into financial planning, because she naturally saw it as something where you had to be good at maths.
Yeah.
I think you're right, Alina. You have to have a certain way with math. You have to be able to do it at a certain level. That's great. But I think the beauty in our job is that we rely heavily on paraplanners and people who are very technical, who know how to analyse figures and that sort of thing.
We've got tools, we've got, online calculators. There's plenty of resources to help us along the way anyway. And to be honest with you, even if you are good at maths, you're still using those tools anyway to double check your work beforehand. So, you don't have to be
efficient as well, right? Yeah. Because, when you need to service so many clients in a day, and make sure, just like you said, you have a sense check. And it doesn't mean that you believe less in your ability to recognize a plus from a minus, but it enables you to deliver on whatever you need to deliver, whilst putting the client at the center of the narrative.
Yeah, definitely.
It's one that is actually a bit of a bugbear of mine, because like Alina, I also go into schools and do financial education. Not so much these days, but I did it for several years. And I'll always say to the teachers that I'd like to sort of speak to people about having careers in financial services, and it's a people job, and I tell them exactly what I think, and I still end up often getting the math students, the economic students wanting to hear about it. And then I start talking to them about what the job is. And sometimes I think they glaze over, because they're like, oh, this is really not what I was expecting you to say.
Yes.
We really need to get that message out that this is a people job.
Yeah.
You're so right. And actually, we have initiated lots of campaigns to drive momentum in terms of including financial education as part of the curriculum. And a lot of teachers say to me, oh, yes, brilliant. We're going to tag this session alongside the maths session or the business section, or, like a social, some sort of PSHE sort of thing. And and the amount of times I've been in schools where you go to the A-level students and you end up with a collection of boys in the class, because most girls don't do GCSEs, advanced maths, A-levels maths, and so they feel like, okay, well, I'm not studying it. Why why having the conversation in the first place. So I've actually had to educate people who are coordinating projects like that, to enlighten them. Look, you don't need the math students to take priority here. Obviously, they're more than welcome. But again, you talk to people who would have a bit of a reaction to figures, and actually that's what keeps a lot of people being disengaged with finances, because they're afraid to try, they're afraid to fail, they're afraid to just go for it. So for that reason, I think we need to bust this myth right from the grassroots, to get people comfortable with the idea that it's not all about the maths when it comes to personal finance, and have a go and try to understand the numbers, but understand also that it's a limited interaction with numbers when it comes to personal finances.
Yeah, I think you're right. Absolutely. You know, from personal experience, maths is not the be all and end all of this job. Definitely not. I think one of the other myths for me was that it was a job for very straight-laced, sort of quite serious people, you know, who yes, we have to be professional. But I think in reality, as we all know, we all like a good laugh. We are working with people at the end of the day, and we're not robots. We have emotions. Yeah. And I think that, you know, it's not for people who are very straight-laced in a certain way.
Yeah, and that way unapproachable.
Yeah.
You don't. Serious, it's a very serious industry. Yeah, you know, dealing with finance. Yeah, you know, it's people's livelihoods. But yeah, you know, we're not serious as in our personalities, are we?
No,
absolutely not. I mean, I don't know about what you guys want to share, but I mean, I love my festivals. I love sci-fi. Yeah. You know, I love collecting Harry Potter toys. So probably shouldn't have admitted to that. But I am just a normal, or maybe not, but I'm just a regular person, not someone to be, I suppose, considered boring or fearful, I guess, or you know what I mean.
Yeah, it's funny you like sci-fi, so do I. Yeah, that's the geeky side of me. Sci-fi. Weather phenomenon is another one. As Tracy knows, I recently went to America tornado chasing for my 40th birthday for 10 days, which is absolutely amazing.
That sounds so cool.
It was incredible. I'd highly recommend it. It's brilliant. I put you in touch with the tour operator that I went with. Really, really, really good. It's brilliant. So yeah, you know, I think there'll be a lot of people out there probably be quite surprised to know what we're actually like personally. Probably quite different to what they're expecting.
Absolutely. You know, a couple of times people say to me, God, I can't believe you're a financial advisor just by how I am as a person. It's like, are you serious? Like, you know, if you just said that, I'm like, yeah. You know, I'm not serious as a person, you know, and I can't imagine how you are in a meeting. You know, I can't imagine that professional side. And it's like, yeah, you know, I'm professional in a meeting, but I'm true to my colours as well. You know, I show my personality in that in a meeting, because I think that's when you build the relationships with the clients, isn't it? You can't be rigid. No, you can't be rigid. Because I think clients would be rigid as well. Then and you don't get the client to open up. So if you're showing who you are, showing your personality, that client's gonna more often than not relate to you, and they're going to open up. So yeah,
I think you're right. And also, you know, when we're talking about finance, it can be quite a technical topic, quite dry. Yeah. So if you're going in there and being very serious all the time, sometimes it you know, I think depending on the type of client's personality, sometimes they can glaze over if you haven't got a bit of humour in there with it, or bring it to life a little bit.
We need to be approachable.
Yeah,
it's approachable, isn't it? We have to be approachable, and I think that's really key to be a good advisor. You know, get that client engaging with you, get that conversation going.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. I have the same experience. I mean, I'm for the majority of my clients, I'm the walk and talk coach. So we just go out and about, and I can't walk in high heels in the heels of Surrey. So so that goes without, you know, saying. You know, I have the odd hoodie on when I talk to my
Yeah.
clients. I
Yeah.
log in just as I am, and they love it because they're on their sofas or behind their desks working remotely, and they don't want to feel out of place. You know, they don't show up wearing the best shirts or the best jackets, and I won't do it as I am today, because I want them to feel comfortable. And you know, I talk about humanizing financial conversations. This is exactly what I do, and I show up and be the best I can. Obviously, I am professional, just like you said, Tracy, but I don't discount the human in me, and I'm not afraid to show it. Sometimes I go, I'm going to take the level right down when I mentioned that I do grow vegetables on the allotment. So that's as boring as I can get. But sometimes I just dial in from from on site, and that I show people my veggies and everything that I work on outside the office, and it's life, and it should be normal.
Yeah, definitely. What other myths have we heard?
I think another myth is, maybe we've kind of covered it already, boring. That we're boring people. that we can be boring, you know. I think what I mean by that is finance, to a lot of people, discussing finance can be a boring topic to people. It's not interesting, and therefore, because it's a boring topic, we must be boring people.
Yeah, I agree. I think a lot of clients that I come across that have been in a recent presentation about retirement, where they were, you know, people delivering it were expecting to get them to a PhD level in how a pension works. They come out thinking, firstly, with an anxiety attack that they haven't done what they're supposed to be doing at the right time, but also bamboozled by all the terms. And you know, and I do think that, you know, the boring narrative will be the thing that keeps continues on this, you know, maintaining this myth that personal finance is boring, or finances are boring. I think, but I think we have an opportunity to change this narrative, and I know that certainly in this group we're doing our best to bust this myth and make it exciting. And I think for Hazel and I, because we've been doing this educational work in schools, you can't walk into a school in front of a 14 years old or a 16 years old with an attention span of a goldfish and actually have the same, or, you know, narrative as we would probably have had like years ago. You need to make it exciting. You need to make it relevant, current. And I think as we are progressing, I think, again, we're making the transition from goals-based to value-based. That's when you talk about values, you talk about what's important to people, and that is not boring. That is exciting. That is life, things and experiences that they really want to look forward to. They are happy to talk about, and money is the thing that happens to be supporting all this. But when you lead with those values, just magic happens.
Yeah, absolutely.
Also, the job doesn't have to be boring. You know, in terms of, as you've just said, you know, we talk about clients' lives, but I remember this client meeting I had where we were talking about budget. So we were talking basically about what they spend, and we were talking about the aspirations of what they spend. And we just had such fun having this conversation, being aspirational, and also geeking out a bit together, because she was also quite into like the idea of cash flow planning. And we got to the end of the meeting and I was buzzing, and she was like, I feel so excited. And it was just the coolest thing to have done a financial planning meeting. We're like, yes, this is cool. Yes. So I feel like sometimes you do get to bring your absolute joy, and you don't even have to be like calm and measured. You can get excited with your clients.
Yeah, definitely.
Absolutely. And I had a similar experience with a 25 years old young man. He was doing everything. He was like, actually, he started the conversation saying, maybe I'll sound boring. And I was like, well, try me. And he was like, oh, I'm doing the savings, I'm doing the investments and so on. And I said, well, I think for the next step for you would be to draw as much satisfaction and joy out of your assets, basically, and do more like life planning. What do you mean by that? And we had such an exciting conversation. And he said, I'm actually feeling pumped up right now. I'm going to go enjoy it all. And I said, well, it's you thinking to yourself that you've done all these things to enable to have that wide range of choices and options. What I would love for you is to be able to explore and understand what you're about, whatever keeps you energized, so you can enjoy more of. You do more of this, and you enjoy more of that, of the good stuff that really, really contributes to personal well-being. So I think it's an absolutely myth, but I understand where this myth comes from. I think it's from the good old traditional conversations, which hopefully will be a matter of the past.
Yeah. I think one of the other things that I always thought it was when I first went into it was it's a sales job. And I think that is still very much misunderstood to this day. You will always, I mean, I still do occasionally get a client that I've never seen before, and they're like, oh, what are you here to sell me now? You know, they'll make a joke of it. Even though I'd like to think deep down they know that we're not, but it's certainly not a sales job.
But why do you think that is, though? You know, why do you think people have this perception that we're salesy?
Because it was the way, I think, years ago.
And I think that's where it is. That's how it used to be, didn't it? You know, you had the insurance man knocking on the door, you know, selling.
And I still think it does exist in some environments. Not in the financial planning roles that we're doing, but I do think it does exist. But it's definitely moving forward. It doesn't have to be a sales job, which I think is the most important thing to get across. If that's not you, you can find a place where it is about client outcomes.
Absolutely.
I think, I don't think it's about sales. I think you certainly have to have an ability to explain information, you know, and explain it clearly. But in my mind, if you're explaining or doing your role correctly, I suppose, and you're explaining the options and letting them make an informed decision, you're not really having to sell anything. Like, that's the way I've always seen it. It's
me too. But as I say, I think there are some environments where it isn't, but if you are you are educating the client so they can make the right decision.
I think you are right, because you'll still see clients now where they'll have existing investments, for example, and you'll say, well, okay, why were these set up? What are you aiming for with these? And they won't have an idea. They'll have no idea. Oh, well, I don't know. They just sort of said that this was what we needed. I don't really know why. There was no goal setting.
The
and
narrative
the
has
cash flow
changed now,
modelling
hasn't it?
and that sort of thing. So I think you're right, Hazel. It does still exist because we do still see clients who have no idea what their objectives are.
And I think also you might hear, like, on the radio, TV, have you been missold this or missold that? And I think that it's a problem as well that we have, because immediately that's associated with financial planners, you know, immediately. And it's like, that's not what we're about. So it's kind of, so to change that, we need to promote what a financial planner really is. You know, this is what we're all about. And spreading that message, you know, because I truly feel that there's people out there that, because I've met people time and time again whereby they should have met a financial planner a lot sooner. They would be in a much better position now had they met a financial planner sooner. And when you ask them, why is it only now you've only meeting us, they say, okay, well, I didn't really want to meet you really, because, you know, you've been put off because you're salesy, you've been put off by that. And then when they realise afterwards, after experiencing meetings with us, they realise, oh, actually, you couldn't be farther from the truth. Couldn't be any further. Any further.
Do you think clients are aware, or the everyday public are aware, of the number of exams we have to go through to be chartered, for example? Do you think that's common?
No, not at all.
Absolutely not. No.
I don't think that it really matters to them either. But we do hold. I mean, why not? I mean, it's a lot of work to be chartered, and you should be saying it and being recognised for it, because it's huge work. But for the clients, it really doesn't matter. But it does matter. I mean, I think it strengthens the trust in your ability to deliver results. I think that could potentially be for them like a stamp of validation. I know you will do a great job because you have all these designations against your name, and you know, I implicitly trust you. But do they trust themselves before they make the decisions? Do they wholeheartedly know that they've signed on the dotted line for the good of the great, which is their financial security and freedom? I'm not so sure. So I think it's you're right, Emma. I think what helps, certainly in my job, because I don't recommend solutions, I don't do regulated work. It's easy for me to say, rest assured, I'm not here to sell. We're not going to talk about any recommendations, any products. But funnily enough, after we've had a few conversations, they ask me, so what do you think I should do? At that point, someone within an implementation function would be great to take them on and walk them through, and here's what we do, and this is how you consolidate, or things like that. That is to do with the implementation of advice, is to do with, you know, taking all those ideas and translating them into an implementation strategy of a financial plan. But up to that point, I think in the back of their minds, they will always doubt their ability to have a say, to make informed decisions. I think that will always linger in the back of them. Have I done the right thing? Because a lot of them entrust financial advisors implicitly with a lot of money, because otherwise they won't be on your radar, would they? So the fact that, you know, ultimately they come in with a lot of money, it's a huge amount of responsibility. And they don't know much about it. So I mean, I know your clients would not have this problem, but I do know what you mean, because I've been in a lot of businesses and I know how, you know, lots of processes work. And there are many firms out there who still need to catch up with the rest of the world. So I'm not doubting that you will come across, and I have come across clients who really have that second thought and that doubt lingering in the back of their head. Have I done the right thing? But I think you're right, with the right education, with the right awareness, bringing them in, making them your partners in decision making, right? Because if they're invested in that decision, they will go with you and they will collaborate. They will stick to their investments and they will go the whole 9 yards with no question. And then they will come up with really good questions, really good answers, really good, you know, timely implementation, which I know it's one of those things that a lot of financial advisors tear their hairs off. It's like, how many times, you know, like 90 days later, it's like your letter the other day, right? You do what you're supposed to do, and they don't do what they're supposed to do, because somewhere in the back of their minds, there's a big question mark. There's a big doubt. The only thing is, I think for the foreseeable future, until probably this potential little issue still remains, whilst, you know, I can see emerging financial advisors who still want to make a living, and for as long as the business model is you're being paid based on investable assets, I think there's always going to be a bit of a bias and a bit of a selection process. And I think for a lot of times the conversations are led, kind of filter out through this logical kind of process. Is okay, well, if I'm going to kind of, I think the bottom line is the return on investment. You know, everyone in this conversation wants to know that the time and energy and money they're spending, because it's an investment, in this conversation will pay off at some point. What is the value of it? Okay, so it has to work for the client and for the advisor. And I think, you know, if you are supported by a healthy culture, healthy processes and strategies, I think you can wholeheartedly say, look, we're not selling. Okay, you'll only have to make a decision when you're ready for it, when it's suitable. But up until that time, I think when unless you're in that position, it's really hard to still mitigate, because of what you said, Tracy. Still a huge amount of ambulance chasers out there, you know, highlighting all the words, warts and stuff to do with the industry. I think you know, I'm saying industry, not profession. I don't know why. I think a lot of professionals I know do the right thing by the client, but it's always going to be the odd one that sticks out, because that sells. The headlines do sell.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean, the recent story, well, it wasn't that recent, but maybe last year, there was a couple of advisors who'd done the wrong thing, I think, with some DB schemes, and, you know, they've been fined, rightly so, but it's just so frustrating, I think, when you feel you're making progress in the profession and finally getting people to come around to the idea that we are very professional, we are highly qualified, you know, we are here to do the right thing. And then, like you say, you get the outliers who end up ruining it because, like you say, bad news sells. You don't see a lot of stories about all the financial planners out there who are doing a good job, doing a great job for their clients. You know, people don't read about that.
Yes, absolutely. It's the perceived, it's always, you know, is it the perceived value enough to withstand all the noise in the press? I think when when it's again, we've been navigating such uncertain times, and I think it, it puts people in a very negative or narrow mindset, and I think that's a perfect breeding place for doubt and paranoia and just not so good constructive.
But hopefully, as more and more people start working with financial planners, they'll realize that we're not sales.
That's it.
Yeah. So it's like, how can more and more people have exposure to financial planners? There's only, how many financial advisors are there in the UK? Is it 26, 27,000 along
Something
those
like
lines?
that.
And how many million people live in the United Kingdom? So we're not touching a wide audience, really, are we?
No.
In that regard.
I think the other thing around that actually is AI. This is something that I like sort of keep my eye on, because I think the younger generations of today are very, very au fait with using AI, and I wonder whether they would be very comfortable just going onto some sort of online platform and doing a lot of the advice, the investing and things themselves, and the planning and the cash flow modelling.
But then on the flip side of that, AI is really good as well, and the fact that if someone put in what is a pension, AI will explain it, and in quite layman's terms, in a quite easy way, in a readable format. So so you're kind of educating that person at the other end as well, and at that point they might go, okay, I now need a financial planner to step in. So it might it might encourage them as well.
I also think when people are making very big decisions, they do like to speak to a human. Just using personal experience, when I booked my honeymoon, obviously not that big a decision, but it was pretty big. It was the biggest holiday we've ever been on. I could have done it all by myself online, but I went to a travel agent. The first time I've ever done it, the only time I've ever done it, but I was like, I want this to be done well, so therefore I'm going to speak to a professional. And I'm sure there are lots of other examples. Wedding planners, just sticking with the theme. People use wedding planners even though they could do it themselves, because it's an important day. Well, your money is important.
As financial planners, we are, I'll have clients come up to me, and actually what they've said to me is completely correct, and I'm just there for the seal of approval. Yes, I agree. I'm there as reassurance. And especially the clients that I've got a long lasting relationship with, I'm just their friend now. I'm more their friend, and when we meet up, we have a chat, we have a cup of tea, whatever, and we only talk about finance for about 10 minutes. And it's just like, because they know a lot already. And it's just kind of housekeeping, making sure that everything's up to date. There's no red flags that I need to be aware of or anything like that. But because you've educated them, they can make informed decisions at that point.
Absolutely. And you see it like in conversations. And I actually make a point of reminding them that I'm there to validate what they do well. I'm not there to slap their wrist. And I'm not there to point out pain points. That's not what I'm there for. It's just having that balanced conversation between what goes really well and opportunities to make some significant improvements or tweaks or whatever the stage. You're right. I think when they go through significant milestones, just like you said, getting married and so on, when suddenly your bank account doesn't look as glamorous as they used to be before the wedding, and so much else to look forward to, they start asking questions, or they entertain some ideas, some intentions that they may have to do with whatever they think is the right thing for them, or maybe some noise in the background, as in like the parents' voices of what success looks like. Maybe you should entertain buying a home, or do other things with your money, and they or simply bumping into someone in the kitchen at work and talking about crypto, and they think, all of a sudden they think, oh, maybe I'm missing out on something. Maybe I'm not doing right. Maybe what if? So those moments, it's so important for them to have someone to brainstorm with, to sit on that thinking bench together and kind of go, hey, do you think I'm doing well? And what else do you think I should be doing? How is this relevant? The amount of time people say, I seem to have all these things lying around, and I'm like, good on you, because apparently it was a good decision at the time. So good on you for taking action. Now what you need is put purpose behind that money. Now we're talking, now we're planning money and life, and that can take such an exciting turn for a lot of people. So I'm actually thankful that a lot of like mid-20s, mid-30s, they have all their ducks in a row in terms of like they have all the building blocks in place. What a relief. Less for us to to mop after the fact or build, but the refining, the adjustments, the working with priorities, as a way to back their aspirations. I'm always painting the picture for them. You still can aim for the peak, but plan for the climb, and then one leg at a time. And they love it, and I love it too, because it makes it more tangible. It makes it more current. It makes it more important, urgent, beneficial, rather than just dealing with a mess and swimming through things and then feeling awkward and feeling like completely inadequate in this conversation. I still remind them, you don't need to be the professional in personal finance, but you are the professional in terms of your life. Life choices. So let's bring this onto the table, put it in a transparent, relaxed way, and see what is the best outcome you can get with the resources that you have.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. And it got me thinking, I think with sales, the natural bit that's connected with that is money, making lots of money. And I think, again, finance in general is associated quite heavily with people who want to just go out there and make a lot. Do you think that's true? Is it a career where you can make lots of money? Is it?
Well, it is a career where you can make lots of money. Yeah. And I know people who've come into the profession because they want to make money. There's nothing wrong with that, so long as you don't let that drive your decision making.
Yes.
That's not why I came into the profession. And I mean, I would argue that I think the fact that I came into the profession because I want to help people makes me a good advisor.
Yeah.
But, it's whatever motivates people, so long as they do the right thing. That's the main thing.
Yeah, that's the thing. And I think you mentioned right at the beginning of our conversation today, after this marathon of podcast recording, but you mentioned, not kind of internalizing what stage in life you're at. Do you go after achievements, or do you go after fulfillment? And none of them is wrong. Whichever way you use as a motivator to come into into this profession, to become the best you can be professionally and personally, there's not right or wrong answer. It's just understanding that, not feeling awkward about not wanting money and wanting impact. It's as good as wanting money and not really worrying about impact at a stage in your development. I think it's absolutely fine either way, but not making a rule or making a recipe of success in financial advice, financial planning. I think that's the most important thing.
Yeah, I think I certainly was attracted by the fact that I could get financial freedom by working in this industry. I like nice things. I like to be financially independent, and I think being a financial planner gives you that, or a financial coach running your own business. But I think you're right, Hazel, in what you say. You don't want to be coming into this industry if that is going to be your leading motivating factor, and that is the most important thing. It's not the industry for that. It's certainly not a sales job anymore, I don't think.
Can I share another myth?
Yeah.
Thank you. So one that's really close to my heart is that the myth that you have to be from a certain type of background or have a certain level of education to belong in financial services, which personally, having not got that type of background, coming from a very working class family and only being educated until GCSE levels, I'm completely busting that myth. But I think a lot of people don't see that when they see people. They just make assumptions about our paths and the support we've had and our journeys. And so it's really important for anyone listening to know that it doesn't matter where you're from. And in fact, sometimes those differences add value to businesses because you see things in a different way. Or when you're speaking to clients, most of our clients are wealthy, but they will have people in their family who might have different circumstances. And if you can empathize with circumstances for people on all different walks of life, I think it's something that's a real superpower in the work.
Really is.
Well said.
It can be really refreshing. And again, I actively encourage students young professionals to try for apprenticeships. And I said, well, what if this is the path you want, you don't need to necessarily go to university. You don't need all that debt for what? When you can actually work and study and develop a career that really suits you and pursue exams one at a time, as and when you need them. It doesn't have to be pressure. And don't forget, like a lot of these deals, like long I think long gone are the days when the deals were at the golf club, right? The majority of those deals are no longer at the,
they're not.
Thank you.
I don't play
glad
golf, so
so yes.
That's why I don't play personally.
So this is definitely a myth, and I think a lot of women are on the golf course, a lot of people, women that I know for sure, who are CEOs of their own companies or more. Global companies, you can't find them on the golf course. So clearly, you don't have to be part of that background to kind of go. No, it's actually a network. You can start a business. You can start advising with normal people who are working really hard to create wealth. And
Can I give a final?
Yeah, go for it.
That only men can do this job.
Yeah,
definitely a myth.
It's definitely a myth.
Although only 16% of financial planners are women at the moment.
It's a shocking statistic,
isn't it?
Absolutely shocking statistic. Absolutely shocking.
Yeah.
But hopefully this podcast will demonstrate that women can easily do this role.
We're good at this job as well.
We're brilliant.
We're good.
Yeah, I mean, can I just say, in the saddest possible way, the only time when I'm happy to queue for toilet is when I go to industry conferences and I see more women queuing outside the toilet. I'm like, yes, more women in the profession. Thank you very much. I really don't mind. Only then I don't mind. It's a good sign, because it used to be a few females, a few women in a room. So I think it's only positive that we see more of that, but more welcome for sure.
Yeah, I think there are a lot of women in the industry, or in other financial roles, paraplanners, administrators. I think it'd be really fantastic to see some of these women coming through and thinking about the financial planning role or financial coaching role as a good career path for them. I think just as we're on myths, working long hours and being out the office all the time. Yes, we've done that early on in the career, but actually once you're established, you pretty much run your own diary a lot of the time. Yeah. And it can be really conducive to, if you do happen to want to have children or want more flexible working hours, then absolutely can cater for that, I think.
Yeah, yes, and I agree. If you were to apply, if you were to look at the traditional financial planning, financial advice business model, it was like a natural selection. It was a bit exclusive because you couldn't have coped as a woman with the long hours, walking into strangers' houses. And whilst you have, you need to potentially be at home making dinner for your children at a reasonable time. So it was a natural selection and more of an exclusive environment. Whereas now, through virtual meetings and you can be whichever part of the country you need to be in at a flick of a switch, and you don't need to worry about that. It's perfectly safe. And I think the fact that we see more administrators and paraplanners out there attending conferences, it's such a positive thing. And I think that's the measure that we're moving away more and more from sales. I think because once we start glorifying all these roles and functions that historically have been hidden behind a desk in a back office somewhere away from the client's eyes, I think the fact that we're putting all these, mostly women, I have to say, still people who are crunching numbers and are heavily involved in the implementation of advice out there, I think it's only is a testimony of the fact that we are no longer a sales right? We're not glorifying the sales aspect of this business. Is everyone is adding value. So the more the merrier. And we also have women up on stages, which is incredible, right? Which is how I came across financial coaching, because I saw Simone on a stage and I was thinking, wow, it is possible. It is possible to get this done in a way that suits me and my skill set as a woman too. Incredible.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much for joining us today for the Wealth and Women podcast. If you really enjoyed what you saw, please follow the Personal Finance Society on LinkedIn and YouTube, and you will be notified of the next episode.